Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Craig, is that actually you? Are you back?
Return of the podcast. Return of the podcast. Return of the podcast. You know that wait be back. All right. I know
somewhere
you know
Kyle Sherwood is grinning from ear to ear listening to that.
Oh yeah, of course.
That is a standard B-Lot post-game staple.
Yeah, and pregame staple.
And pregame staple too. But the postgame is better because then you've got, drunk celebratory Kyle singing Return of the Mac, which is quite the sight to behold.
The best video I made of us singing it was before the USC game last in 2017.
Yeah.
And we just spontaneously made a video of lip syncing it, and we got it that where he and I think my sister were popping in at perfect times in the video, and it turned out really well. Maybe I'll share the video on the podcast Twitter. It's pretty funny.
That'd be good. I don't know. Did he try to jump on you and hug you like he did me after the game day win?
Oh yeah. He's done that after many wins.
I'm not as big as you are, though.
Yeah, I know.
That's a lot of man trying to jump on me. And that's not to say anything about Kyle other than Kyle is just a big dude. Like this, it's the tall center thing. It's like everybody's tall. Yeah, I'm 6 feet tall and I'm the shortest dude. So
yeah, we growing big at Coug Center. So
yeah, it must be all the beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we tell them what show they're listening to?
Oh yeah. So hello and welcome to Podcast versus Everyone. I'm Craig Powers. With me, as always, is Jeff Nusser, back after a week off.
Yeah, it feels like forever, man.
I was off in Florida, going to a very, very busy work conference, and then also taking my daughter to Disney World. So that was great. World. We can get into that later in the kids section.
I know, and it's funny. It feels like forever, and like lots of stuff has happened. It's crazy.
Yeah, we only missed 1 week, but it does feel like we haven't done this in a really long time.
Yeah, it does. I'm like, we'll let the listeners know a little bit of how the sausage is made. We kind of had to look and go, okay, well, what has happened since we were last on? And we were like, well, let's see, like Kyle Smith got this recruit and that recruit, and this guy's in the transfer portal, and we're just like, geez, man, there's like all this stuff happened in the 2 weeks since our last episode. So I even got a text today from a listener saying, I demand a new episode. So
well, there we go. We will be delivering. And more into how the sausage is made. We are actually recording and it's daylight outside.
Yeah.
So this is pretty weird.
No, it's kind of early.
Yeah. This is I got my workout in early today, and B's in bed already, and everything's good.
Yeah, my kids aren't in bed. If you hear somebody bust in here and say something loud, then that would be my children.
B's still small enough that we can trap her in her bed, and she has no choice.
Put her in the cage. That's right.
Put her in the cage, and she has no choice, and she can do whatever she wants after that. But
she could scream.
She has been doing that.
My kids will just start punching each other.
Well, at least it's each other, not you. She's been punching us, so.
That's true. Atticus did just try to kick me. He was mad that I wouldn't let him watch X-Men before he went to bed, and I'm like,
pretty good reason.
Like, bro, you need to. We need something a little calmer than that. So anyway.
Yeah. What are you drinking?
All right. So I'm having what is now apparently going to be a collector's item, which is so I'm having the Big Smooth West Coast Double IPA from Puyallup River Brewing, and I originally bought it because it is just blatantly pandering to Sonics fans. So people who are Sonics fans would know, Big Smooth would be Sam Perkins from back in the day, nicknamed as such, I believe Kevin Calabro actually gave him that nickname for his, long, smooth shot on which he maybe jumped about 2 inches off the ground. But he had like these 8 feet long arms that he would shoot with, and he was just smooth and always looked like he was stoned. And it was just like, it was fantastic. So anyway, so I bought it for that reason. And then you informed me that they were shutting down operations. And I was like, wait a second, like they actually make some good beer and you can find it all over the place, which you speculated was maybe part of the reason. But at any rate, so pouring one out tonight for Puyallup River Brewing, local brewery here near Podcast versus Everyone headquarters east. And that's what I'm drinking tonight. It's a nice little double IPA, pretty standard fare. Nice little like 4 out of whatever star ranking thing that we did that we're going to do. I don't even know what we're doing tonight. What are we ranking on tonight?
Let's 4 out of 5 or how many
4 out of 5 Sam Perkins. Should we do that?
Yeah. 4 out of 5 stoned centers shooting 3-pointers.
Yeah, 4 out of 5 stoned centers shooting 3-pointers. That's what this big smooth West Coast double IPA is.
Remember the most line drive shot I've ever seen. That was actually effective.
Hang on, while you're talking, I'm going to go look up his stats because I want to see how good of a shooter he actually was. I think we just remember it differently because it was a different era of the NBA.
Yeah, where like 32% was amazing.
Yeah. Especially for a center.
But yeah, it's a bummer about Puyallup River. Kind of been around for a long time. Well, yeah, they're shutting down. Yeah, sometimes, you try to grow into a lot of markets as the competition gets more fierce in your own market. And, I'm just speculating. I don't know. For all we know, they just were tired of doing it. But yeah, it's a real bummer. They had quite an influence, especially in the South Sound. And yeah, you see their beer in everywhere, grocery stores, whatever. So, you won't be seeing it much longer. So if you have a Puyallup River beer you really like, especially some of their big stouts, their spice stouts are pretty good. I would recommend going and finding them and buying them because you won't see them anymore. Yeah. So did you find his stats?
I did. Okay, so here we go. So with the Sonics, let's see. So 3-point shooter. No, he was really good. Actually, with Seattle, he shot 38% from 3-point range. Now, we only shot 3.5 attempts per game, which is by today's NBA standards really small. No, actually.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah. So he averaged. So, okay, now that I'm looking at it, it's funny how little I remember about this, even though I loved him to death. He played, he was off the bench and played about anywhere between like 25 and 28 minutes a night over his tenure in Seattle. And was, just really, averaged like 11, 12 points for most of the years he was here. And he would, that's a guy who was, before his generation, man, he would have killed in today's NBA.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the type of guy, when I was a kid, when, those Sonics teams and they were, winning 60 plus games a year and you're like Kemp Payton, but man, they had a deep team.
Oh yeah.
They had a very well put together team.
Him, Hersey Hawkins, Nate McMillan, Detlef Schrempf.
Yeah, we had Nate McMillan as the backup point guard, and Hersey was the leading scorer. I think his first year with them, so he was a big get. And I didn't realize it when I was 8 when they brought him along. I was like, yeah, cool. He's just another guy playing on the team.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that team was pretty stacked. And
yes, it was.
It makes sense that they won as many games as they did.
Also, can't forget Frank Burkowski.
Oh yeah, another big guy that shot some threes as well.
A little bit.
Not a lot, but he did.
I know this is just depressing the hell out of me all over again as I'm watching the Warriors and the Blazers while we're recording, and I'm just like, come on NBA, come home. Anyway,
side note before I get into my beer.
Okay.
I was in an Uber going somewhere for work in Florida, and the Uber driver asked me where I'm from. I say Seattle, and he goes, Oh man, the Sonics, man. I used to love the Sonics. I miss the Sonics and all this stuff. And I was like, oh man, you touched my heart right
Yeah.
now. So I was like,
That's a guy who knows how to get a tip. That's
oh
what that
right,
is.
exactly, exactly. You have to have your knowledge. But what am I drinking? So I tonight, sometimes I put a lot of thought into my beer, sometimes I don't. Tonight is one of those nights when I didn't. I do try to mix up the breweries because you can only have one of us drinking Skookum every single week. Um, but uh, but so I have it's it's a collaboration beer. It was from a series that is kind of a box, like a series of beers that was sold in the UK of collaborations between each beer was a collaboration between a US brewery and a UK brewery, and then they actually had some pretty heavy hitters in the group of breweries. And this particular one is a collaboration between Burning Sky Brewery in uh, in the UK, which I can tell you I don't know anything about other than it's in Furfel, and more specifically West Furfel.
West Furfel. Where are you from? Furfel. No,
Uh,
no, not that. West Furfel. Oh, okay.
so I'll just read you the address. Address is Place Barn, comma the ST, I assume street or this, I don't know. Furl. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Furl. It's Furl. I looked at it quick, but Furl is still funny. Firle. And yeah, so I don't know anything about them. I think I also see an address that says they're in East Sussex. I don't know where any of this stuff is, and I don't care to look it up. Um,
That's right.
it,
God
the,
bless America. We
England is
won the
small.
war.
England is small,
That
so
is true.
yeah. It's in England somewhere. Uh, I have the friend that got me this beer is English, and he'd probably punch me in the face. Um, but yeah, so the collaboration, the U.S. brewery is Three Floyds Brewing, and they're out of Munster, Indiana.
Yeah.
Uh,
Heard of them.
which is about 30 miles south of Chicago. So they're, for all intents and purposes, a Chicago brewery. That's where their major market is. That's where they sell most of their beer. Yeah, but Three Floyds is interesting. They produce a ton of different labels. What they're most famous for is their Dark Lord Day. It's a yearly release of their Dark Lord beer, which is a really heavy 15% stout, which was when they first started doing this, it was like something that you just would never see, and it was crazy. And so people buy tickets to this, and they line up, and then you get, with your ticket, you have a chance to get certain variants, so like barrel-aged variants of this out, and some of them are amazing, and some of them are awful. But the festival itself is just this huge beer festival that they have a lot of amazing beer on tap. They have heavy metal playing all day. And then they also let you bring your own beer in and do beer shares.
Nice.
So I had the chance to go to this festival in 2014, I want to say, either 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. I didn't get the ticket. Back then they had two different tickets where you could either buy tickets and get, it came with beer. And then it came with a chance to get a one-off beer, but then they also, those sold out. So, but I was able to get a festival only pass, which was more than enough. So we showed. I brought my buddy with me, who's a Coug, but he lives in Chicago, but he not like a huge craft beer nerd, but we boarded a bus at like 9 a.m. and went down, started drinking on the bus. Got in line, and everyone's sharing beer in line. And instead of the staff coming around and putting the bottles in the recycling bin, they would just lay the bottles down and line them up so you can see what everyone was drinking while they were in line. And it was some pretty great stuff. So and then you get in, and it was pouring down rain. Underneath the first tent we saw, there was a enormous puddle, like Woodstock type puddle that people were jumping around in. It was gross. I avoided that. But we just basically found a table where some guys were sharing, and it was raining so hard. We just pop out over to a tent to grab some of the draft beer. They'd rotate out some really good draft beer. I made it till we left at about 5. The festival goes all day, but like people have different times they can enter. We left at our we had a bus that was scheduled to get us at 5. I remember a lot until about 3 that day, and then things get really fuzzy. And then we got on the bus, and it starts coming back a little more. And then we made some friends on the bus, and we ended up having dinner with them, like at the place that we got dropped off at the bus. It was like, that's what the bar, their intent is. It's a bar, and you just come back, and they drop you off at the bar. And of course, you go in and eat and drink more. I remember there was like a beer nerd guy like me, and then he was bringing his friend, and they had both gotten the allotments of the bottles. So he was definitely hoping to get his buddy's allotment of the bottles as well. And his buddy ended up selling me and my friend each one at like cost. And this was at the time when you could probably trade this beer for about 4 times what it was worth.
Yeah.
For what it cost. And so the other guy took a little bit of a sourpuss turn the rest of the night, because he had seen 2 of his cherished bottles like evaporate. But yeah, I did open up one of those at a spring game one time, way back when. So you probably tried.
I probably had some of that.
Yep, you did. But anyway, so about this beer, this is billed as a white stout, which is typically it's a light beer, a lighter colored beer that they add coffee to. But they don't actually say that they add coffee to this. But I assume they did. So they added some lactose to soften up the body, and then aged it in a mix of Burgundy and bourbon barrels. I don't know for how long. It's not super hefty. It's 8.4%. It's not like some of the 15% stuff. So it's pretty interesting. It's kind of golden in color, as most white stouts are. They say it was bottled on August. Well, I have to read it awkwardly because it's in European dating. So if I read it as an American date, it was bottled on the 24th month, on the 8th of that month in 2017. But that, of course, that means it was bottled on August 24th, 2017. They recommend drinking it by August 23rd, 2018. So I just blew right on past that. Totally forgot I had this beer. I was just digging through random boxes, and that one, looked interesting.
But you only have a few beers. How could you forget about this one?
I know, right? I don't, yeah. So yeah, this beer. So my buddy, he's from England, but at the time he was living in the U.S. and he had went over to England, and he brought back the entire set of beers and then sent them to me. I think about 9 of them made it. 2 of them, the lids popped off in transit, and then one of them just straight up broke. So I've tried a few of them. There's been some really good ones. There's been some not so really good ones. This one is very interesting. The Burgundy is very overpowering. I can tell you the truth, I haven't had much Burgundy in my life, but I know that smell is definitely Burgundy. And yeah, the barrel, because it's kind of a lighter beer, the barrels are very present in it, but it actually is still able to be pretty balanced. Like, I'm kind of impressed how balanced it is. When I read it, I was like, this is going to be insane. But it's actually quite nice. I think they hopped it pretty well, and some of that is still there. It's pretty tasty. I probably wouldn't go back to drink it over and over again, but it's definitely a unique experience to have this kind of 8% malty, but still light colored beer. It's sort of like a 8% light barley wine, aged in, a couple barrels and with some lactose in there. So if you're lactose intolerant, you can't get this, you wouldn't drink this beer. But yeah, I think I'd give it I'll give it a 4 Sam Perkinses. out of 5. And then maybe, but I do think of Perkins Restaurant as well. When I was a kid, I think I just assumed that Perkins was owned by Sam Perkins.
And we are bringing this full circle.
Yeah. So the old Perkins Restaurant, because they had green and yellow as their colors too, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Are Perkins even still around? I don't even
know.
know.
I'm sure they are somewhere.
Well, but yeah, this is
fact check it while you're talking.
Yeah, you should. But yeah, 3 Floyds. If you ever want to experience just a hell of an experience, go ahead and check out that Dark Lord Day. You have to buy the tickets immediately now, and they're like $200 because they come with all the beers automatically. And but it's a hell of a good time. I got in just paying $30 to get into the festival, which they're basically charging you for the music, and you got like a meal, which I never used because I was drinking too much to eat apparently. But yeah, so that was a hell of a day. The only time I've been to that brewery, but every time I've been back to Chicago, I drink a lot of their beer. They have a lot of good beers. They have a lot of not so good beers, but that's what happens when you make a lot of beers like they do. They have like, I don't even know how many beers on Untapped. I'm sure it's in hundreds and hundreds of styles on Untapped, but yeah, they take risks and they're able to because they have enough goodwill. They used to be one of the more hyped breweries. If you're ever in Chicago, look for their flagship pale ale called Zombie Dust. It's delicious. Or even easier to find is Alpha King. It's very good. And then you can find some of their double IPAs on the shelf usually. They're very good stuff. They have some stouts and stuff you can find as well. But yeah, so 3 Floyds. And of course, Burning Sky, which I've never had a different beer from them. That's a completely different brewery from me. So that's new for me. But yeah. So Jeff, did you find out about Perkins?
I did. Okay, are you ready for this?
Yes.
There is a Perkins in Ellensburg.
Oh.
There is a Perkins in Spokane. And then if you want your Perkins experience beyond that, then you got to go a little while. You could go to Kelowna, British Columbia.
Ooh, maybe if you're on a ski trip to Big White.
You could also go to, let's see, Kalispell, Montana.
Again, if you're on a ski trip,
or Missoula, Montana. Those are the 5 within sort of. I mean, I wouldn't even say those are within a reasonable distance, but that's about as good as it gets. So Perkins does exist.
I'm gonna call Perkins an après-ski place then.
Oh, there's even more. So I've expanded the search. Let's see. There's some in Idaho. There's one in
definitely an Idaho restaurant.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely one. There's one in Calgary. There's one in Great Falls. There's one in Medicine Hat. There's one in Bozeman. Of course, there's one in Bozeman. Yeah, that sounds about right. Apparently still very popular in Idaho and Montana, southern Idaho.
I want to know where their headquarters in Memphis. So maybe there's a lot in the South. Who knows?
Interesting.
Oh no, but they opened. They originally opened as Perkins Pancake House in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Huh. Yeah, as I'm going east, I see more of them as I move east. I seem to recall there being one in Moses Lake once upon a time. I could be wrong about that because my family used to go to Moses Lake every Memorial Day weekend. So
the one I'm remembering is in Yakima, just off 40th by the Bi-Mart.
Yeah.
But that is, I believe, the Powerhouse Grill now.
Ooh.
And it's so wow.
How can you turn down a place called the Powerhouse Grill?
Oh,
Powerhouse.
You certainly can.
Oh, you can. Okay. All right, moving on.
No, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. I don't know. I've never eaten there, so I don't know.
But, now that our listeners know where to find a Perkins, if they're looking for one. I mean, there's one in Spokane. I know we have listeners in Spokane. So
I'm sure we have a listener or two.
I'm sure we have at least one.
Within driving distance of Ellensburg.
Yeah. And anybody who lives in Seattle, you have to drive through Ellensburg to get to Pullman. So if you're really jonesing for a Perkins, I don't even know what they're good at.
You've been on the road for an hour
slice
and a
of
half.
pie.
You're like, I gotta get my Perkins
fix. You just can't wait. You just can't wait any longer.
Pretty big company, 25,000 employees, but it is a restaurant. So like every single restaurant has like 100 employees, like hundreds of employees. So,
I mean, there's way more of them in the Midwest.
ooh, their parent, they're of course part of the parent company is with Marie Callender's, which
Mhm.
very similar restaurant.
There's tons of them in Colorado too. Colorado, Wyoming, North
So
Dakota, South Dakota,
go down, watch the Cougs play. The
Chicago.
Bucks.
Chicago has them.
Oh, you can go get some Three Floyds beer
Just so you know.
and go to Perkins.
Yeah.
It all comes around. It's all tied together.
And just say Big Smooth, and they'll have no idea what you're talking about.
All right.
Actually, I take that back. By the way, not actually in Chicago.
No.
It's actually up in Wisconsin.
Wow.
So there
That's
you
pretty
go.
close.
Sorry, there's like 5 of them just across the border in Wisconsin.
Yeah, so it's not far away.
And there's like 2 of them just across the border in Michigan. I wonder if like Illinois has like a.
They're like, hell no. No
They're
Perkins here.
Like, no, we will not abide. Perkins. Anyway.
Yeah, actually, I've been to Chicago a lot. When you fly in, like you get off the airplane, and like the first thing you see is a sign, and it's like Perkins logo, except it has like a cross through it. No Perkins.
It's like the old Ghostbusters sign, but
they're just setting the expectation right off the bat. Like,
like,
you're
hell
not
no.
finding a Perkins. Don't ask your concierge to locate a Perkins for you.
If you want a Perkins, you can go to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Gonna have to drive.
If you want those pancakes or whatever the hell they
or whatever
they make
pies,
there.
probably pies. Every good breakfast place has pies.
Do you think there's someone that's like, fuck Sherry's, I want
There probably is some old person somewhere. They're like,
where does Perkins rank on
Arthur,
like,
we're going to Perkins. I've added up to my eyeballs with Sherry's.
I want to have a definitive ranking of like Denny's, Sherry's, Perkins, Marie Callender's. Like I want to know where all these rank.
Where do these rank?
Now we need to go on a road trip.
IHOP. We can do live shows from these different restaurants. We'll have to drive to Ellensburg to do a live show from a Perkins.
Sorry, what you're hearing right now is this podcast pivoting to being a podcast that reviews chain all-day breakfast restaurants.
Beer and
all-day breakfast.
Old people breakfast destinations.
And pies.
And
Just
pies.
Give me them pies.
That's right. Dude, everybody loves pies.
Oh, man. If you guys think we're off the rails now, wait until July when there is nothing to talk about.
I'm kidding. All right. Well, hey, before that happens, we actually do have things to talk about.
Yeah, now that we've talked about Perkins for 20 minutes. So, yeah, the WSU basketball roster has players on it now. New players coming in. So Kyle Smith is finally, a couple weeks ago, our last podcast, we were kind of getting a little impatient about him signing some guys, and it was just a few days after he started bringing them in. So since our last podcast, we talked about Deion James last podcast, but we've had a couple junior college transfers. One of them, or both of them, that started at a Division I school and then went to junior college. And Darren Henson, who started at Utah State and then went to junior college, and now he's coming back as a junior with two years of eligibility left. And Isaac Bonton, who started at Montana State.
That's correct.
And then went to JC, and now is a Coug. Well, going to be a Coug. And then we also have a couple freshmen. Ryan Rapp, who was a former San Francisco commit, an Aussie, coming in.
Get that pipeline back open.
Yeah, get that Aussie pipeline. And then Noah Williams, who, oh man, got
open that Seattle pipeline.
That Seattle pipeline, baby.
That's right.
Actually, so I'll start with Noah Williams. Actually, that's a pretty good get freshman wise. He was committed to Buffalo, and then obviously when Nate Oates left there, opened up his commitment. But solid player out of I think it went to O'Day, and then but yeah, he had some offers from some Power Five schools even, and so I think UW was interested in him, and I think it was like Plan D.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to
'cause
say something to that effect.
He's listed on his 247 sports profiles having an offer from UW, but I think that was just in case the rest of their recruiting class wasn't going to come along.
In case they all transferred.
In case they all transferred, yeah. But yeah, so we got some guys in the mix now. How are you feeling about this group of four?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll start with Noah Williams too. I mean, the thing I find kind of most interesting about him signing, and I don't mean to, we're totally joking, but we are both absolutely thrilled to have him. I think there's a couple things to really like about it. One is just size. I think Ernie Kent sort of made a habit of ignoring size in terms of his recruiting, and last year was just sort of like the most absurd version of that. You had Ahmed Ali starting at one guard at 5. He's listed at 5'11", but I don't think he's that. I think he's probably 5'10". And then you had Isaiah Wade playing minutes at center at 6'7" and 215 pounds. I mean, Ernie sort of just decided that size wasn't a big deal, and that had something to do with the troubles that they had defending on the perimeter and, just defending in general. I mean, obviously their defensive principles were horrible, but, I think just to my eye, it sure looked like the lineups that got just a little bit taller and a little bit longer, just simply did a better job of defending. And that's been a thing, for the last few years is starting really, small lineups on the perimeter. Malachi Flynn is, 6'1" or 6'2" or whatever. And, Viante Daniels was 6'1", and, like I said, Ahmed Ali was 5'11", 5'10", something like that. I mean, we were just constantly starting these really small guys. Mm-hmm. I really love the idea of, I don't know if he ends up being a full-time point guard or not. I don't know if he's kind of more of a combo guard or kind of how that ends up working, but I know he's 6'5", and I know he's a guard, and I know that makes, a pretty massive difference, particularly, guarding on the perimeter, closing out on 3-pointers, things like that. I mean, one of the things that we've talked about on the podcast is the real strength. There are two real strengths of Kyle Smith's defenses. One is defensive rebounding, and the other one is chasing shooters off the 3-point line. His defense is suppressed 3-point attempts. And so one really good way to do that is get guys long enough on the perimeter who can bother some shots. So I love the fact that he's 6'5". One thing I find sort of funny is that he decommits from Buffalo, where he was going to go play for Nate Oates. And for people who didn't follow Buffalo much, they played very, very fast, like very fast.
One of the fastest teams in the country.
Warp speed fast. Yeah. And so to go from a program that was going to play warp speed fast to a program that's basically going to run a Princeton style offense, more or less, and probably be in the bottom quarter, bottom 15% of teams in terms of tempo, was sort of an interesting thing to me. But whatever. I mean, it's I'm thrilled that we got him. His dad, he's a legacy. His dad obviously was a Coug. Kid's got talent. He's it's a good signing all around. I don't know how much to expect from him this year, but I also didn't know how much to expect from CJ Ellaby, and he was obviously very good. So I'm sure he'll have an opportunity to compete for a starting spot, and so that's nothing but good things for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if we're looking, the other freshman bringing in Ryan Rapp. Obviously, looking at an Aussie guy, it's harder to pin him down. But the first thing you look at again, he's 6'5". So bringing in another tall guy, it's kind of showing you the type of player that Kyle Smith values. And we've seen from his past ability to recognize, evaluate talent and fit into a certain position. I'm sure there's an intent there, but to me, immediately 6'5", that's a guy you can turn into a defensive focused guard. And so it's I think USF was pretty excited to have him, but
Yeah. I mean, he
um,
definitely looks to me like a guy who is going to redshirt. He may play. I don't know. I mean, he might not redshirt, but he looks like a guy who definitely needs to develop. He's very light, very skinny. I think will need to grow into his body a little bit. So, I don't know if they'll choose to redshirt him or not, but he seems like a pretty prime candidate for that. And, USF, yeah, I mean, this was the kind of guy that they've, made their money on is it's a guy who develops. It sure seems like a lot of the sites that I looked at on him said he was 6'3". And so I think there's a pretty decent chance he's actually grown a couple of inches just like in the last year. So that's a good sign that he's just, kind of still grown into his body and already has a real nice feel for the ball. He really is a point guard. Excellent passer, really good facilitator. I think he's going to need to work on his shot and the other elements of his game as he gets stronger. But a lot of potential there. I love that idea as a freshman signing, a kid who's gonna develop into something over the years as the program matures.
well, yeah, absolutely. It's nice to see. Obviously, Smith knows he's coming into a team that was not good last year, and there's the temptation to just only sign upperclassmen. Just hunt down those grad transfers, hunt down those prime JUCOs, just to try to field a competitive team next year. But he's fortunately has a lot of scholarships to work with. And I like that he is doing both. He's signed a couple juniors, he's got a senior, and he's signed a couple freshmen. So he's kind of spreading the wealth, if you will. Bringing in some guys that if they don't work out, then they're out of the program quickly. And bring in some guys that his staff can develop, and so and that have the kind of physical characteristics that he can work with. So I like the freshman signings. I like what he's doing. Obviously, he's not, it's not 5-star, 4-star recruits, but if you're expecting that at WSU, then you have never ever paid attention. And then 2, we are very late in the period here. He came in right before the late signing period, so there's you're kind of working with what's left out there.
Well, and he's done remarkably well. I mean, it should be noted that Noah Williams is a higher rated recruit than anybody Ernie Kent signed in 5 years.
Yep.
So there's that. And I think Darren Henson is a guy who a number of other programs were probably looking at. Stretch 4 kind of guy. I mean, he signed with Ernie Kent, but Kyle Smith had to re-recruit him. I think he's got a lot of potential as an excellent scorer. I think there's already a sense that he needs to improve defensively. He said that in the story where he sort of recommitted that Smith had communicated that to him, that he needed to work on his defense. But he was, he's a guy who could be an impact guy. So what I see is kind of a nice mix here. I see, Deion James for 1 year. I see Darren Henson for 2 years. I see Bonton for 2 years, and then Rapp's a freshman and Noah Williams is a freshman. And then Nigel John, we don't know what's up with him. He's the freshman big man who signed back in, whatever it was, November. I don't know, man. He's gone silent since Smith was hired, or Kent was fired, actually, is what it was, and said, I'm opening my recruitment. He hasn't said anything since. I know he took an unofficial visit to Oklahoma State, which means he probably doesn't have an actual offer there.
Right.
I'll be honest. I don't see how he fits with what Smith wants to do. He's extremely raw. And I don't think he possesses. So Smith always kind of talks about his 6-tool players, right? They're looking for guys who can do lots of things, which obviously is sort of a pie in the sky thing. Of course, why wouldn't you want guys who can do 6 things, right? Shoot it, dribble, defend, whatever it is, all 6 of them, right? Like if you've got guys who can do all 6 things, then you're going to be pretty good. But it's like, what he's saying is obviously he's not going to get everybody who can do all of those things well, but I think he values the idea that, every guy on the floor should be able to do at least some of those things to some, competent level. And so to me, that says more. I'm trying to stay away from one trick pony type guys. And I'm not sure that John, being such a young basketball player, really picked it up late, played a lot of, was kind of on the homeschool circuit for a while until his senior year. And so, kind of a guy who hasn't played a lot of real competitive basketball, definitely a project. And I think he's the kind of project that Ernie Kent would take a gamble on because, he was sort of desperate for big men. I'm not sure that Kyle Smith is gonna take a gamble on him. So I don't know. We'll see. I could be totally wrong, but what I've seen of him is a guy who just needs a lot of work and is probably never going to be a real natural passer or shooter. Is probably a low post guy, and I don't see how that fits with Kyle Smith's Princeton style offense.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of come back around to Henson here. He did play one full season at Utah State his freshman year. Very interesting statistical profile.
Yeah.
He was listed as a forward, but he was very much a perimeter player. Pretty dang good 3-point shooter. Not good at I don't think I've ever seen 7 of 33 from 2-point. Took 95 threes, shot almost 38%. 7 of 33 from 2-pointers. So he barely ever shot a 2-pointer and was just awful inside. So hopefully in his year at JUCO, he's bulked up a little bit and maybe is a little more effective. But I think, that ability to shoot from the outside is definitely, a good look. He doesn't have it'll be interesting to see what else they get out of him. He shot quite a bit. He came off the bench and he was obviously a guy that they brought off the bench to shoot the ball. And to shoot threes primarily. So it'll be interesting to see what Smith has in mind for him. But that 3-point shot is a skill that we know he has, and then we go from there.
That is for sure.
Yeah. So
might have a couple departures too.
Yeah. We also got let's talk about one more.
We definitely have one departure.
Let's talk about Bonton first. So
well, that's not a departure, but let's talk about him.
Because we haven't talked about him. But shot a lot. He at a JUCO typically you don't see guys they roll deep at JUCOs usually. This is just from looking at JUCO stats and stuff. They give a lot of guys time and but he played roughly 24 minutes a game, and then but he shot a lot in that time, a lot. And so he's definitely a guy that at least in somewhat in the JUCO level could create his own shot. His freshman year at Montana State was not so great. I mean, he was only there for 11 games or whatever. But he can shoot threes again. And we know that Smith is wanting to shoot a lot of threes, and we can see that. So we got a couple guys that I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong guy. I was looking at Henson again. Dang it. I had my notes here and I was looking at the wrong notes. But Jeff, what do you know about Bonton so I can go back?
Yeah, no, I mean, you were right that he's a high usage.
He actually played a lot. He played a lot.
JUCO.
He played a lot at JUCO. He didn't play a little bit, but
no, he was a high usage player at JUCO. The offense very much seemed to revolve around him. And he was an all conference player at the conference he was in. So, real nice. I think he's a nice player. I mean, again, he's got some okay size. He's 6'3".
Yeah.
Which now makes him one of our shorter guards, which is kind of cool. Again, it makes a difference with rebounding.
Yeah, we're talking about, Gervais Robinson, 6'1", and he was probably 5'9" or 10.
Yeah. So, and I think Gervais Robinson might end up being the point guard. I'm not sure. I think it's going to be kind of interesting to watch what Smith does between Robinson and Bonton and Williams. I don't think Williams is going to be the starter, but at any rate, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Robinson and Bonton being kind of the two guards. One thing Smith told me when I talked to him was that he really likes having two good ball handlers on the floor. Like that's kind of a thing that he definitely wants instead of like, just kind of one point guard that now, I mean, he did have a point guard that sort of dominated the ball the last couple of years at San Francisco with Frankie Ferrari. But he definitely said he wants to have, two guys who can handle the ball. And so that would indicate that maybe you're going to get a situation with like, with Robinson and Bonton. I wouldn't be surprised if Ali does stick around, maybe that's a guy who comes off the bench a little bit, just as a 10 to 15 minute spark plug, shoot some threes, that kind of stuff. But
she's much better in that.
Yeah, he is. And he's just so limited.
Your 25 to 30 minute a game point guard.
Yeah. And he can't, for a guy his size to not be able to break people down off the dribble is a real liability. You know, I mean, if you're going to be small, you better be very quick or very strong. Auburn had a kid, obviously, if you watch that, had a kid who was, all of 5'8" or whatever, but he was awesome. Extremely athletic, could beat people down the floor, could beat people to the rim and, could jump. And so, you can make up for it with those things. And Ali doesn't have that skill set. He's a competent shooter, but to
your point on Robinson, like, we saw Robinson could break down some people sometimes, but he just was a horrible finisher. But what can you do about that? But
I think that's where Bonton comes in, because he's, a lot of times you see these kids come from JUCO with 20 points, especially kids who were D1 kids who transfer down and go to a JUCO that's maybe not necessarily a national powerhouse where they're getting lots of D1 drop downs, and they come in and they shoot 25 shots a game and average 20 points, and everybody goes, ooh, they average 20 points, right? But when I watched Bonton's video, which granted is all the positive plays, right? It's not really the negative plays, but when I watched it, I saw a guy who was a savvy scorer, and not just like crafty, because that only gets you so far at the Pac-12 level against Pac-12 level defenders, but a guy who showed some ability to get some separation off the dribble, excellent balance, good footwork, stepping back on step back shots, to get some space. I mean, I saw a guy who I think is a pretty natural scorer and has a bag of tricks that he can use even at the Pac-12 level to get his shot off. So so I like him. I think he's definitely going to contribute some positive things to the team.
But I will add that, like, with JUCOs, sometimes you have to temper your expectations, because you see these guys come in with all the scoring ability in the world and then just really struggle early on, and it usually takes them a little bit into the season to get kind of comfortable with the pace of play and everything. So it'll be interesting to see. And sometimes these guys are coming in and they're the number one guy, and then suddenly they're just one of the guys.
Right.
And that's a bit of an adjustment too. But you see what Smith is looking for again, some more length, and then some shooting ability, and then ability to create on your own is great too. But there is some sadness, some potential sadness.
Yeah, some maybe sadness.
One of the guys that you and I were both big fans of this year, and both thought that could fit in Kyle Smith's system very well, is Marvin Cannon. Just very athletic, solid, long, even at 6'5", but very long. Solid 3-point shooter, great ability to get offensive rebounds and get to the free throw line, and then had the framework to be an excellent defender, which he was at times. But it's just hard when you have a coach that doesn't focus on defense at all to really measure a guy. You just kind of got to look at him occasionally in like one-on-one situations, but yeah, obviously Marvin Cannon is a guy that we would definitely love to have, on the team next year, especially if we're looking at the team to, build on and improve. But he has entered the transfer portal. So fingers crossed, Jeff, that he doesn't find a place to go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure, he can find a place to go, but yeah, it is a bummer. It's all the things you said, excellent, really athletic guy. the kind of athlete we typically don't get on our roster. He's obviously very light. You can see the reasons why, even with that athleticism, maybe he wasn't more highly recruited, but he's a savvy scorer. He's obviously a good free throw shooter. I don't think he's a 95% free throw shooter like he was for most of the year. I think that started to regress a little bit at the end of the year, but certainly looked like a guy who could become a competent, 3-point shooter, good at drawing fouls, which is, a skill set that this roster didn't really have. I don't know about the guys coming in, but didn't really have that. Nobody else really had that skill set last year. And so, that was a nice little piece. And then, developing 3-point shot.
Point out that it's a skill set that you and I both drool over quite often, and it's a very underrated skill set.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about, like, I think we both, we looked at James Harden when he was in college and his ability to just get to the free throw line. You're like, this guy is good because and now he's pretty famous for his ability to draw fouls. And it serves two purposes. One, you're getting to the free throw line, you're getting easy points, especially if you're a guy like Cannon and you can shoot free throws really well. And two, you're drawing fouls on the other team. Like you're getting them into the bonus faster, and you're potentially putting their players into foul trouble. So it's a skill that it's typically you usually have one or two guys on your roster that are good at it, and you hope it's one of your best guys who has the ball a lot. And Cannon really truly wasn't a guy that had the ball in his hands a lot, and a lot of his usage came from his free throw, his ability to draw fouls. But yeah, it's such a huge ability to have, and that's kind of the one thing that I would probably miss the most about him.
Yeah, it's and then I would argue the other thing that it does too is, it sort of shifts the shape of the defense, when you have a guy who can get to the rim a little bit. That's a big, cause the defense to move, and then you can potentially open up some shots on kickouts. So, not that he's sort of a high level passer, but just the ability to get into the lane and do some things. It's a very nice skill.
You don't have to be a great passer if you're able to draw defense and there's wide open guys.
That's true.
You don't have to be a great passer. You've seen guys that aren't good passers that, Clay, when he was at WSU, wasn't a great passer, but he was able to draw defenses and get some assists that way, just because the pass was easy, the guy's wide open. If you're able to beat your man as such like that, it's never a bad thing.
Nope, never a bad thing. Yeah. So, I hope he comes back, or, at the very least, I hope the reason why he's leaving is not because the timing was weird, right? This is late in the game for that sort of thing. So, one thing I wrote in the story that I wrote about it was, I hope that it's basketball related and not family related, in the sense that, this late in the game, I hope there's not a family problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Something like that.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I think it was Theo tweeted that he said he wanted to be closer to home.
Yeah, it was Kook fan. I don't know, that story seemed very thinly sourced. So I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. The story seemed to be based off of a hashtag in his bio. That seemed to be the source.
Oh, that's
so. So I was like, I don't know. Maybe it's true. I don't know. But at any rate, yeah. I hope that it's not some sort of problem. I hope that it's, just something easily explainable, and that he sticks around. If he doesn't, best to him. Chance Moore, we also lost another guy, Chance Moore. Wow, all those great memories of Chance Moore sitting on the bench for one entire semester. And then of course him.
He beats the Malik Smith's first go round.
Yeah, that's true. And then he's yelling at people on his way out the door, talking about how Kyle Smith forced him out, and I'm like, I don't know. It's you sort of forced your way out at Wichita State because you weren't playing as much as you wanted, and then
similarly minded coach at WSU.
Yeah, and then you go to an offensive minded coach at WSU who then gets fired and replaced with a coach that is of a similar mind to your previous coach at Wichita State. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really pass the smell test. So
Yeah.
anybody
So
can see it. Yeah, go ahead.
with Ernie had, if there was a Statue of Liberty, it would be give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to
Shoot the ball.
yearning to screw the D.
Yeah.
Sure, that's gross. Like, no, like,
yearning to shoot the ball and play no defense.
Yeah, yearning to shoot the ball and play no D. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. And yeah, if I was him, like this is what you wrote about it when he came over, and we both got this sense. It's like this is a guy that was at Greg Marshall is extremely defensively oriented, and it was to the point where you're kind of wondering why he ever signed there in the first place.
Yeah.
There was no secret.
Yeah, great. You're going to go play for Greg Marshall, man. You better I mean, it's not like the guy's a no offense coach, but it's also like there are going to be certain things asked of you if you're going to go play for Greg Marshall. So,
but yeah, and obviously
it's a little weird.
Obviously he had the same things asked of him when Kyle Smith came aboard, and it's not something he wants to do. And maybe Kyle Smith, said something like, well, then if this is what we're doing, and if you don't want to do it, then you got to leave. Maybe, you could feel forced out in that way. If he feels that way, I'm not going to tell him how to feel, but yeah, it probably serves you better to leave. And I hope I hope you find some place to go. Probably have to go to JUCO.
I think that's probably his option.
Because he already wasn't. And if you're talking about a kid that one is not even going to play till second semester.
Yep.
So you're getting through your entire non-conference schedule before he can even touch the court. And
I don't know exactly how the transfer rules work on this because you don't see this very often. So I don't know if he goes. I don't know if he goes to another school if he's got to sit out a year from there, or if he just has to sit out the 1 year from when he left Wichita State.
I wonder, because there was a coaching change. I wonder if he could,
get a waiver on that. Because if he did transfer to a D1 school, he could then use his red shirt, and then he would, not lose a year of eligibility. So I don't know. It's, whatever. I mean, I have a hard time. Like I said a minute ago, it just doesn't really pass the smell test for me. Just in the sense that, there's all these other guys who have been there, why are you being picked on? Right? Like, why are you being forced out? And, for all intents and purposes, it seems Smith wants everybody else to stay. So, it just kind of like, this idea that, he's basically, he's picking on me. He told me that, since I can't play until next semester, I have to leave. And I'm like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know, maybe he communicated like, something like, hey, so just so you know, you're not going to be able to play until next semester. By that point, we will have gone through, half a season of whatever. So, our rotations will be more or less set. Just know it's going to be real hard for you to break in to the rotation. And if you're cool with that, that's fine. And he may have taken that as he doesn't want me here because he's not going to hand me a starting job like Ernie was going to, I don't know. So at any rate, see you later, buddy. You probably weren't going to be a fit anyway. And I hope you find what you're looking for.
Also, like, you're looking for another place. People can find you when you're throwing shade at the other like. Well, yeah. What do you think another coach is going to think about that? Like, I don't know, man. Someone needs to advise that kid on.
I mean, you did see that
social media choices.
Yeah, you did see that when big man Kawani committed to Cal, that Chance Moore got on there and tagged WSU basketball and said losers with crying face emojis. So yeah, he might want to
delete that comment.
He might want to delete that comment and think about what he's doing there before he transfers to another program. He'll probably end up at some smaller school where he can shoot 25 times a game and feel good about that. So that's my prediction.
Yep. And that's good.
Yep.
That's good. Yeah. If he wasn't going to fit here, find another place where you're going to fit. Obviously you would have fit just fine with Ernie.
Yeah. Go where a place that's going to make you happy, man.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Josh Okoyen once upon a time was playing for Dick Bennett and decided, you know what? I'd rather go to Cal State Fullerton and jack up 30 shots a game. And he's turned that into an international career, and good for him.
And I think they went to the tournament.
They did.
State Fullerton.
Yeah, they did.
And he was the leading scorer.
He was the leading scorer, so good for him. There's 350 Division I schools. Surely one of them will be able to give you what you're looking for.
And I guarantee it. having covered the bottom of the barrel of the NCAA Division I before, I can tell you there are plenty
there's
of
a place for just about everybody.
You'll find a place, man. I'm not worried about you. Yeah. Just don't make it harder on yourself by throwing shade on Instagram or whatever.
There will be some coach somewhere that's happy to have him.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. That's how it'll work. All right. Anything else with WSU? We covered all with WSU basketball.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. Is it time to pivot to nonsense?
Nonsense. Yeah. Nonsense. So you had a story that you wanted to bring up.
Yeah. And by the way, this was not my story. This was posted to the Coug Center Slack today. I think it was Kevin Dudley who posted it.
No. Can I just no. It was Kevin Dudley at first. I just have to say
that's right.
How Kevin Dudley approached it,
which was much appreciated, by the way.
Yeah. Well, he works. I will give away where he works, but he he probably works at a job where he's gonna be monitored on the stuff he's opening at work or whatever.
Yeah.
So he posted it, or he said, "Hey, there's this really funny story. I don't want to post it because I don't know what's going to show up. I don't even know if it's going to be blocked by some of where you guys work, Jeff, because you work in a school.
Yes, public education.
PJ works on an Air Force base in Germany. Who knows?
By the way, I don't think that's going to be a problem once.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fine. Because then
Jesse's also a public school teacher in North Carolina.
Yeah, it was. I think it was you and Jesse that he was worried about.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to get you guys in trouble. So he didn't post it directly, but then PJ was fine with posting it directly.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a story that actually, originated in Spokane. So it's from the Navy Times, and the headline is "The Navy's Probe into Sky Penis." I mean, and then the subhead says, quote, "The balls are going to be lopsided," unquote. Here rendition of Navy pilots' plan to draw sky penis. Oh my goodness.
There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. So anyway, apparently, what was it, like a couple years ago, some Navy pilots out of Whidbey. Yeah, decided that now this is not this is not a super uncommon thing. I know that when Boeing tests planes, they will take off and they will, go basically draw a pattern with their flight path in the sky. I remember around a Seahawks game, maybe it was around the Super Bowl. I don't even remember, but as it is, they made like a 12 in the sky with their pattern, with their flight pattern on a test flight, so that just as a just a fun thing to do, right? So they plan these out. Well, these guys planned out using the contrails from their jets or their jet to draw a giant penis in the sky over Spokane. And I think absolutely the best part of this is the story. So, okay. So the Navy Times, the reason why the Navy Times is just now writing about this is they got a Freedom of Information Act disclosure. So basically a disclosure of documents and investigative items and
fine journalism.
That's right. The fine journalism at the Navy Times said, okay, so here's how they tell the story. And I'm going to try to tell this without cracking up. So here we go. I'm going to try and be as straight as I can. So here it goes. The day's flight was to be a standard 90 minutes of training over the skies of north central Washington. Their partner jet soon flew to another section of their training area, and the lieutenants got an idea.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. Like, I'm just like, hey, I got an idea. All right, so the
And these are probably guys in their like mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Absolutely. 100%. Okay, and so it says, all right, so the EWO, the Electronic Warfare Officer, broached it first, according to the investigation. Quote, my initial reaction was, no, bad, the pilot wrote in a statement after the incident. Quote, but for some reason still unknown to me, I eventually decided to do it. Their sky penis plan of attack was captured on their cockpit video recording system, a transcript of which is included in the investigation. Quote, draw a giant penis, quote, the EWO said. Quote, that would be awesome. Quote, what did you do on your flight? The pilot joked. Quote, oh, we turned dinosaurs into sky penises. Quote, you should totally draw sorry. You should totally try to draw a penis, the EWO advised. Quote, I could definitely draw one. That would be easy, the pilot boasted. I could basically draw a figure 8 and then turn around and come back. I'm going to go down, grab some speed, and hopefully get out of the contrail layer so they're not connected to each other. Unquote. They theorized on the second order effects of their nascent sky drawing. Quote, dude, that would be so funny, the pilot said. Quote, airliners coming back on their way into Seattle, just this big bleeping giant penis. We could almost draw a vein in the middle of it too. A vein.
Attention to detail.
Okay. Soon, the EWO reported they were definitely, quote, marking, unquote. They had found the sweet altitude and the contrail sky penis was being born in their wake. Quote, balls are going to be a little lopsided, the pilot advised. Quote, balls are complete, he reported moments later. I just got to navigate a little bit over here for the shaft. Which way is the shaft going? The EWO asked. The shaft will go to the left. No, it's going to be a wide shaft, EWO noted. I don't want to make it just like 3 balls, the pilot said. Let's do it, the EWO said. Oh, and the head of that penis is going to be thick. Some like Chinese weather satellite right now that's like, what the fuck? The pilots surmised. All right. The jet streaked across the sky and the duo's magnum opus continued to take shape, showcasing the pilot's prowess in the process. Quote, to get out of this, I'm going to go like down and to the right, the pilot said. And we'll come back over the top and try and take a look at it. Quote, I have a feeling the balls will have dissipated by then, his partner answered. It's possible, the pilot said. They flew away to a distance where they could take in their work. They cracked up in the cockpit as their sky penis came into full view, snapping pics they would later delete once they realized their command would likely go apoplectic. Oh, yes, that was fucking amazing, the pilot said. This is so obvious. That's a expletive. I don't know which expletive that was. The EWO said, dude, I'm amazed that this stayed. Maybe that's what he said. That's a dick, probably. The EWO said, dude, I'm amazed that this stayed. Quote, mishap pilot Alpha said, dude, I'm going to draw a blank, a dick. The EWO said. EWO Alpha said, yup, that's a great idea. They waited to see if their partner jet would notice their work. Your artwork is amazing, the Lieutenant Commander EWO and the other jet radioed to them. Glad you guys noticed, the pilot replied. Oh my God. Oh my God. Soon after I realized the extent of our actions, the pilot wrote that the contrails were remaining longer than predicted. Evasive maneuvers became necessary. I remarked that we needed to take steps to try and obfuscate it, he wrote. I flew one pass over it, essentially trying to scribble it out with my contrails. That pass was ineffective. With fuel running low, the jet returned to Whidbey Island. Back on the ground, the Deputy Commodore of Electronic Attack Wing Pacific soon contacted the squadron looking for an executive officer. The XO confirmed that there had been squadron jets in the area of the Sky Penis that afternoon, according to the investigation. The Deputy Commodore emailed pictures of the phallic-shaped object that were taken from the ground to the XO. When the XO asked the lieutenants if anything unusual had happened during their flight that day, the two immediately fessed up and apologized, according to the report. One lieutenant stated that he deleted the sky drawing photographs from his phone out of shame and as an attempted damage control to prevent further accidental spread of the photographs. They both apologized and were at once remorseful. Okay, now for the kicker, and this is actually up towards the top of the story. Okay, so excuse me. This made it on to Creme 2, right? The local TV station in Spokane, and a part of their story said, a mother who lives in Okanagan who took pictures of the drawings reached out to Creme 2 to complain about the images, saying she was upset she might have to explain to her young children what the drawings were. I mean, as we were talking about this on Slack today, it's like, I'm sorry. Okay, so it really, like, I don't know. It looks like a giant hat, to be honest.
It's a cowboy hat.
Looks like a 10-gallon cowboy hat.
Or just say it's a penis.
Yeah, or just say to your children, hey, if she has boys, listen, I have 3 boys, trust me.
They know what it is.
They know what a penis is. They know what it looks like. They know what it feels like. They know everything about it because they have examined it from 80 different angles, just like every male ever born. Jeez. It's just a penis. Anyway.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And
Navy pilots who did this, we salute you.
And Navy Times.
Navy Times.
First of all, for FOIA-ing this.
That's right.
For 2, the headline and lead writing was immaculate.
So,
oh my God.
So on point. The Navy's probe into Sky Penis.
Also, if you're getting abducted by aliens, God, please, for the love of God, probe anything but the penis.
Anything else.
But yeah, that just.
Oh my goodness.
Like they're like, we have a story here. We need a headline. Like, it doesn't have to be SEO. It just needs to be enticing.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hilarious.
So any of the breweries in Spokane, I don't know, No Lie, Perry Street,
yes, No
whatever,
Lie needs to make a Sky Penis IPA.
You better make a Sky Penis beer. I don't just make a beer called Sky Penis.
Absolutely. You'd have to be okay. So which breweries do you know? Like, you have to be like a little bit irreverent to do that. So I'm trying to think like more breweries than I do. Like what's a good candidate for a brewery that would be like, yeah, we'd make a beer called Sky Penis.
Cloudburst in Seattle.
Yeah, that's
and also because they don't package, so they wouldn't have to get wouldn't have to get it approved. This would definitely be a beer that you would only sell on draft because there's no way you could get the label approved, or you would only distribute it in your home state, and then it doesn't really matter. I feel like Three Magnets in Olympia would do it.
Yeah.
I don't know the breweries in Spokane that well. I don't know. Like, No Lie is kind of a bigger business.
Yeah, they don't seem like
they're going to do that. Like, there's Orlison in Spokane who makes some really weird ass beers. They maybe would make a Sky Penis beer and it'll have like, I don't know, like literal jizz in it. I don't know. Like, so I don't know.
Like, guess what's in it? Come on over and have a drink.
Except it's spelled C-U-M.
We'll keep you coming back for more.
This podcast has an E on it for a reason.
Oh my gosh. I can't even deal. By the way, the pilots didn't get in any real trouble.
They should get, I don't know what.
You know that they got like
They
a
should get.
stern talking to where
No,
like
no.
the guy is like laughing the whole time, like you cannot do that ever again, okay? And he's like giving him high fives while he's scolding him, you know.
Yeah,
You
what
know that's how it was.
the highest medal or something you can get in the Navy? I don't know.
These men, like everybody deserves a pat on the back, a high five for this. The pilots, the Navy Times for reporting this out. Like we all just, you know, we all deserve this.
Yeah. So yeah, like they should. There's no that. So they have let's see, the Navy Cross, which I'm not sure what it's given for. Oh, it's for valor in combat. So
Probably not that one.
probably not.
Oh my goodness.
But the Navy Cross, according to Wikipedia, the Navy Cross is awarded primarily to a member of the United States Navy, Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard when operating under the Department of the Navy for extraordinary heroism. So
yeah,
I feel like
that fits.
Yeah, like
this is heroic in my book.
Yeah. I mean, just the fact that they made some like lady in Okanagan go like, how dare you, sir?
How dare you? She's clutching
There's
her
a
pearls.
dick in the sky.
That looks like a male appendage.
Hi, little Susie.
What did you say? I don't know what did you say? It looks like a pee-pee. Like a what? Like a wiener. I don't know what it looks like a penis. Oh my gosh. Oh dear. I don't know if this makes me a good parent or not, but Sarah and I decided pretty early on we were just going to refer to it by its anatomically correct name with our children, which is, you know, we're just like, look, we're not going to like be like your pee-pee or your wiener or whatever. Like, you know, we're not even going to like try to go with euphemisms, right? We're just going to be like, hey, it's your penis, you know, it's like, okay, just, you know, put the penis away, whatever. And it's like that's fine. What we learned is that that's kind of fine in the house. But then like in other contexts, sometimes that can be a little jarring for families who don't refer to their genitalia in such a fashion. And my kids are being like, I saw his penis. And then it's like, people are like, what? You know, like, how does he know that word? And I'm like, we just decided, you know, whatever. We were just gonna, you know, anyway.
What's the difference? Like, honestly, like, yeah, like PP or penis, like what's
right. No, it's just funny because people
word.
don't, right? People don't. They don't.
Well, yeah,
like with their small children, they're like, your pee-pee, like stop touching your pee-pee. You know, I mean, whatever. Does your pee-pee itch? You know, I mean, whatever. That's what they do. So, yeah.
Does your pee-pee itch?
Does your pee-pee itch? Stop touching your pee-pee. It's not polite. Little boys shouldn't touch their pee-pee.
Oh, man. Well,
this podcast has really gone in a funny direction, man.
Well, yeah. Well, we're already talking about kids, so we'll just keep that train going. We could just keep going down that road. Yeah. So, man, I don't know how to follow up the dick in the sky story.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's lots of dicks hanging out around in this house. I mean, I got 3 boys, so it's pretty much just a parade of penises all the time.
Yeah, I have 3 male pets, but now I'm outnumbered on the human side.
Yeah.
But I haven't been peed in the face while changing a diaper, so
that's good.
I feel like that's a bonus of
that is a bonus to having a daughter.
Of having a daughter. I do remember one time when she just like let it fly. Well, one time that she just wouldn't stop pooping while I was changing her diaper.
Yep, been there.
And I went through like 4 diapers.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like she's 18 months. The pooping's periodic. Like
yeah, she's eating solids now too.
Yeah, she ate too many blueberries one day. She doesn't like poop. And then
dude.
like the day after, it's just like
Oh my goodness.
fucking poop again.
Yeah. And it kind of smells like poopy blueberries.
Oh yeah, and it's like got that tinge.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Kind of
amazing. Like
purplish.
whatever she eats just ends up like like if she eats carrots, like we try to like not to let her eat carrots because we let her eat carrots if she's having trouble pooping because we know it's gonna happen. Like if it's just gonna be orange and like gross. But yeah, or corn or something. But apparently we found out blueberries because um she's been a little sick and a little jet lagged because we went to Florida, and so it's just like she will only eat certain things. Like when we were in Florida, like it was the hardest time getting her to eat when we like were at Disney World. I took this adorable picture of her. We sat down at the Be Our Guest restaurant, named after the Beauty and the Beast song. Um, and she was so excited. We had just gotten to Disney World. We walked around a little bit, um, and then went to breakfast there. And this was one of the places. Most of the places if you eat at the restaurants there, you don't have to pay for the kid. But this is one of the places you did have to pay for her, and she wouldn't eat a single thing. Like not like she just refused. She rebelled against us. Like she just refused to eat anything, and she threw a fit, and she was so mad at us. And we're like, "Oh my God, why did we bring her to Disney World? This is going to be a disaster. Oh my God." But we were lucky enough. Amanda looked up and found that if you go over to like Frontierland or whatever the hell or Adventureland, I think it's called. Um, like no one's over there because it's like one of the oldest areas of the park. And they said go to Tom Sawyer Island because no one goes there. But you can't take a stroller over there. But we just found like some rocking chairs and just rocked her to sleep because there was no one over there. And it was pretty
Perfect.
great. Like so she took like an hour nap and then she was good to go the rest of the day. Uh, found
Oh,
out found out we rode the Magic Carpet ride, which is like made for little kids. Horrified her. You can make the earth that you control up and down how you can go. Like it's one of those like twirl around in a circle things, and you can control how high and low you go. She did not like that at all. There was a Dumbo ride that was the exact same thing. Oh man, she loves elephants, but she hated that ride. So I don't know how much she loves elephants anymore. But yeah, but yeah, she was mostly happy to meet. She didn't give a fuck about princesses. That those are just women in dresses to her. Like there's just like normal women in dresses. Like we took her to this like there's this like it's not really a ride, but it's like an attraction. Like you go through. We thought it was gonna be a ride, and then we're like our backs hurt and we're tired of standing. And then we go into it's the Beauty and the Beast like thing, and they huddle you into this room to start out with like 30 other people, and there's this like girl telling you it's Beauty and the Beast story, blah blah blah, and you're like, we're gonna have to stand here for like 20 minutes. Like my back hurts. But it turned out to be this like thing where they like picked out kids and they did like a reenactment, and they brought us into a room where we got to sit down. So that was great. But then B got to meet Belle, and she didn't really care that much about meeting Belle. Above her on the mantle, it had been talking throughout the presentation, was Lumiere, the lamp in Beauty and the Beast, and they do this cool thing where they like project a face onto like the animatronics, so it looks like they look like a cartoon even though they're animatronic. It's really weird. So she goes to meet Belle, like the Disney person, like she's sitting on our lap, she's enjoying the show, and the Disney person, does she want to meet Belle? And I'm like, yeah, okay. And so I bring her over, and she goes up to her, and the whole crowd's like, "Aw," because B is adorable, of
yes, she
course.
is.
But B like looks at Belle, and then she's standing right underneath the Lumiere, and she just looks up at Lumiere and points to him. She's like, "I don't care about you at all." But she was really excited. We had dinner. You basically have dinner in these restaurants, and then the characters walk around them. And so we had dinner with Winnie the Pooh and all his uh, all his friends too, or however they say it. And so she got really excited about that. So we had to buy her a Winnie the Pooh stuffed animal on the way out. And then the next day we went to and then we went to Animal Kingdom, and she got to meet Mickey and Minnie. And now she says Mickey, Mickey, and she loves Mickey. So we're like Disney people now. I never thought of us as Disney people, but I think it was Amanda's evil plan. Yeah, so now we have a Mickey doll and a Daisy doll, and now we've watched. There's a show called Mickey and the Roadster Racers that B has been particularly fussy since we've gotten back. She's been a little sick and jet lagged, as I said. So we just put that on for 20 minutes, and she zones out and says, Mickey, 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 because she knows who Mickey. This is how they do it. Right?
She loves the mice.
Yeah, she loves Daisy. She's got her little Daisy doll she hugs while she watches the show. Yeah, they have, because I was wondering, I'm like, do any of these kids care about like Mickey and Minnie and like Daisy and Donald and Goofy anymore? Because it's like the movies, it's like Frozen and Mulan and Brave and whatever. But they have TV shows on Disney apparently, which I've learned in the last week, where it's like Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Goofy and Daisy and all that, and like they're like in the show, and so I guess they keep those characters alive. Now we have to just put those on sometimes, even though you shouldn't have screen time for your little kids. But she gets a little bit of it. Just
it's okay, Craig.
When she's been, she's learned to hit us now. So if we want
whack, I want some screen time. Whack.
Yeah. Well, no, just in general, she's just mad because probably she feels bad or something. Her tummy hurts or whatever, and so she just hits us. She's been waking up in the middle of the night. She probably just wants to go back to Disney World, honestly.
Wouldn't.
One more note on Disney World: Animal Kingdom is way better than the Magic Kingdom, and I wasn't a particularly huge fan of Avatar, but the Avatar world is really cool. They like every attention to detail in there was from like the like fake plants and they even have the little sounds played and when you're by the woods and like the like float. They try to make it look like the floating rocks that they have in the movie and at night. I don't know if you remember from the movie, like all the plants glow a lot of the plants glow at night. They have that happen, like all these plants are glowing at night. We made a point to like go back there, and it was pretty cool. Animal Kingdom's pretty cool. A lot of the worlds there have a lot more detail, and like it seems like you're in a little different area. They have like an African village where they have like a lot of stuff in Swahili, and like I know it's kind of silly, but it's like it's a lot like if you're going to be in Disney World, like the Animal Kingdom probably is a little more interesting. Also, you can walk around with beer there. So for parents, like if you want to have a more fun day, like, and they have green beer in the Avatar area, which we had. It's just like some pale ale made by Terrapin Brewing in Atlanta, and I think they probably just color it with dye and make it green. But it was very green and very good. But yeah, I got to be in a Disney show. I think Disney does a thing where they just like pick people out for things to like make their day. So that we were just walking to this Lion King show, and they probably saw B struggling to walk and like picked us out, and they put us in the front row. And then we were the leaders of the elephant group, and we got to make the elephant sound, which I put on my Twitter if you want to see me make a fool of myself. But B was very excited about that because she sings her elephant song in swimming class all the time. But yeah, so overall it was pretty good watching my little. I know like people don't like to take their kids to Disney World and Disneyland until they can remember it, which is fair. But honestly, like we'll remember it. Like, and B was so excited about so many things, and she had never seen any Disney stuff in her life. Like up until then, we had never like showed her anything, but she just loved all the animals. And there's like a safari at Animal Kingdom which is crazy. There's like giraffes and wildebeests, and like you just drive around in this truck. Like it's a crazy experience, and she was just so excited. Like, so I'd recommend, like, it's a lot of money to spend, so I can understand why you would wait. We were fortunate enough that I was already there for
Yeah,
work.
I mean, if you're already there, you know, I
The
mean,
hotel and the
yeah,
flight were paid for essentially.
yeah.
So, you know,
No,
the
that's a good
tickets,
decision.
yeah, the tickets were not cheap in any way whatsoever. You know, it's Disney, you got to pay, but it's crazy how much she enjoyed it, and it was crazy how I didn't realize how much I would enjoy watching her enjoy it, and it was pretty great. Like just her excitement over the animals in Animal Kingdom, and just like the Disney characters and everything, and watching the different shows, and you know, the dancers and everything. It's definitely a different experience, I'm sure, if you're going there with an 18-month-old versus maybe a kid that could ride more of the rides. But it was definitely worth it in our minds. And Amanda's just been like, I want to go back every day. So I guess we're committed now. Bee's gonna see the pictures when she's older, and she's like, when are we going back there? So,
You're like,
like, kid, do you want to go to
someday.
Europe or do you want to go to Disneyland because they cost the same amount?
Yeah, it's we took Joshua when he was how old was he? He was almost 1 when we took him, and that was not a trip to take him. It was a trip that we went on with my dad and my brother and his wife, and then Joshua came along. So it wasn't a trip to take our kid to Disneyland. But the nice thing about having a kid that's, and I don't know if you guys did this or not, but you can get a stroller pass, which basically just means like 2 people stand in line to go in a ride, and then when they get off, they come and hang out with the kid, and then you go back through the exit and you can
Yeah.
get on the ride. So that part, that was actually really nice. We'd walk around with Joshua while everybody else was standing in line. We'd look at, you know, shops and let him run around. And then it was like, oh, it's our turn to go on the ride. And then we'd walk up and ride on Space Mountain. So that was nice. But
Yeah, they had parent swap type thing, but we didn't use it. Um, it's kind of cool now. Like they do the fast pass things. Like you can pick 3 before you go, and then if you
Mhm.
use them, you can just keep picking them. I did miss out on the there's 2 rides in Avatar, and there's one that um there was like 2.5 hour wait for it, and you can't get a fast pass for it. I was like, there's no way I'm doing that.
No ride is
And
that
and,
good.
and honestly,
Sorry.
like it downpoured while we were at Animal Kingdom, and at one point it got down to 85 minutes, which is super low for that ride, and I was like, I'm still not doing that. There's no way. Like, you know, you're sitting there, it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like, okay, if I walk over there, by the time I'm done with the ride, it's gonna be 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, that doesn't seem worth it to me. I don't care how good that ride is. I did find out I know in Disneyland there's like, at least when I went the last time I went was quite a long time ago, but they had single rider entrances for a lot of the rides. But in Disney World there's very few. And in Magic Kingdom there's no single rider entrances, because we tried to do that. I did it for like the Mount Everest ride in Animal Kingdom, which is pretty fun. It's a lot like the Matterhorn ride, if you ever done that.
Yep.
Very, very similar. It's probably a little more of a scary roller coaster than the Matterhorn ride. But it's pretty similar. You get attacked by a Yeti
Oh,
or
I know
whatever.
that Yeti freaks
Um,
me out every
yeah,
time.
yeah. So I definitely think they were trying to have it similarly. But it's got a pretty good drop. Pretty fun. But I just did there was like, you know, like a 45-minute wait, but I did the single rider entrances and was in and out in less than 10 minutes. So that was good. My Amanda and her mom was there for a few of the days, so her mom was there. They just waited for me to do that. One of B's most favorite things is in Animal Kingdom they have this like hilarious like area that's like it's like the carnival that comes to town and sets up in like a grocery store parking lot or whatever. And so it's set up just like that. Like they have all the games and they have a couple rides in there. And then they even take the time to like paint fake parking lot spaces in it. And like they have like the fake like cracked pavement. Like not fake, but they obviously intentionally cracked it to like make it and filled it in with like the tar or whatever to like make it, And so it's pretty funny the attention that they go to. But in there was like an all-day dance party that just goes on, and it's like Pluto and the Chipmunks, Chip and Dale. And B, like, we knew that she would love that because there's playing music and dancing, and she loves that. And she was sleeping. We're like, we want her to take the nap. This is great. But we actually had to wake her up before it was going to close, like before they were going to stop doing it. And then she loved it. There's people, they had a bubble machine, and they were just playing music, and she could dance with Pluto, and she was just having a great time. It's pretty funny. Like, the things that she loved were like the most simple, like, well, obviously the buffets that you do with the characters are not cheap, but they were definitely worth it because they were like her most favorite things, like, over and over again, and she had a blast. So it was like, it's pretty funny. Like, if you took maybe some, like a 6 or 7 year old there, they probably still like seeing the characters, but I don't know how long you could sit there at the buffet long enough for the characters to come around before they wanted to go ride rides or do whatever else. I'm curious. Like, it's pretty funny. Our Amanda's mom was so excited about it. She's like, "We're gonna bring her back on her. We'll bring you all back on her fifth birthday." I'm like, "That sounds great. If you're paying, that sounds great. Yeah, bring us back." So maybe we'll get to go back on B's 5th birthday, and it'll be a completely different experience. But hopefully she's 40 inches tall by then.
You can take her on everything.
Yeah.
She might be. I mean, you're an Amazonian giant, so.
Well, she is still at her last checkup 25th percentile.
How is that even possible?
I don't know.
Like, I don't know. Like, Amanda's not short.
Yeah, but she's grown a lot recently. So, like, just judging by the little basketball hoop that I have for her, it's a lot easier for her to score on it now.
She's going to be dunking by 8th grade. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, she's going to be that. It took me to like senior year, but she's going to beat me.
It took me till like never. I can touch the net.
So can I.
Swat it with my fingertips when I jump, unlike you who can touch it without leaving the ground.
Yeah, I think I can get on my tiptoes.
I'm pretty sure you can.
Well, man.
Good show.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, I hope you all like to hear about my Disneyland trip, but
yeah, I hope everybody sticks around until Sky Penis, man. I think the payoff's worth it there if they can
Sky Penis.
If they can make it to Sky Penis at least.
And the mystery of the Perkins restaurant.
Yeah. Like we have solved that one.
Yeah.
We are doing God's work over here, just like the Navy Times.
I could really go for whatever the hell Perkins serves right now.
I know. Now I'm kind of hungry. Like, I'm sure you could get breakfast. Like, you can get breakfast anytime at a place like that.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'd go there and get like, I don't know, like pancakes and bacon and eggs. Like let's go. Now that I've had all this bottle of Big Smooth.
Yeah, now that I've had a couple beers, let's go to Ellensburg. Let's do it. Let's late night Perkins run.
I don't think I want to drive to Ellensburg. I'm going to be honest.
A sentence that has been said many times.
Yeah, I don't think I want to go to Ellensburg, actually.
No offense, Ellensburg.
No, Ellensburg's not so bad. It's a great place to go to the bathroom, and get a snack.
Hey, if you go deep in, they got a good burger place.
Yeah, I will. Yes. Campus U Totem is great. So I will definitely give Ellensburg that. And then also the Tav is a fun place to hang out if you're ever, in downtown. And also, by the way, I would be remiss if we didn't mention Iron Horse Brewing and our friend Dane Williams, a Coug who does their marketing. So they are also based out of Ellensburg, and they have supplied us with beverages for spring training or spring football games, as we've talked about before. So,
well, it's spring training for us.
Spring training for us. Yeah, that's true. We are
spring drinking training.
I know. Sorry, I got the Mariners on the TV now, and now I'm thinking baseball. But At any rate, yeah, Ellensburg's not all bad. And I will say this also, like Central has really done a nice job remaking their campus and making themselves a more attractive school. So yeah, Ellensburg's okay if you can get over the 30-mile-an-hour winds when it's, minus 10 degrees out. If you can get past that, and then the smell of the cattle being blown on that wind, then Ellensburg is the place for you.
Oh man.
I'm serious. I didn't mean that as a joke.
If you're from Yakima and you don't want to go too far from home to go to school, which is most of the people that I know.
Okay, that's hilarious because where I grew up, Western was like that. It was like, okay, so if you're from, so I grew up in, Mount Lake Terrace, just north of Seattle, and it's like, if you're not going to Washington and you don't want to go too far from home, Western's just an hour up the road. You can go to Western and still drive home on the weekends. So, and again, nothing wrong with that. Western
sounds awful.
I love Bellingham.
Driving home. Oh yeah, Bellingham's great. Driving home on the weekends and for school every weekend sounds awful.
Ugh. But I knew people who did that at Wazoo. You probably did too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Every weekend would drive home, and I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Like, the weekends are the best part.
Yeah, I know. Like, what? Like, wait a second. You were here going to school all week. Like, why are you leaving before the fun starts? Like, what are you doing?
Best was always the week before school started because no one had anything to do.
No. Well, and then you had syllabus week, which of course our esteemed president, Dr. Schultz, would kill us for saying, but it's the truth. Like it's, I mean, even though they're not only doing the syllabus, right? You can count on the first day of class being the syllabus. And then you can count on the next day of class being just a lecture, and there wouldn't be an assignment due. So you didn't have to worry about that. You could just, the first week, you don't have to really worry about anything,
Yep. But study, kids. That's what your number one priority when you're at WSU should be studying.
That's right. All right. Should we wrap it up?
Probably. It's still not as long as that other one we had, but we're veering into territory of just, but we are both gas bags. So whatever.
That's true.
But yeah,
off long ago.
Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, if you got through me recounting my Disney World trip, go ahead if you're listening. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed, then Jesus, fucking subscribe. What are you thinking? Yeah. Like, if you enjoyed all of this, go ahead and click subscribe on iTunes or whatever. This is
obviously your kind of show. If you made it this far,
if you made it this far, subscribe, and also follow us on Twitter at Pod versus Everyone. Follow me on Twitter at Craig Power. No, wait, what is it, Jeff? At the Craig Powers.
At the Craig Powers.
Yeah. Yeah, because that other Craig Powers that already.
For all of your beer recommendation and cute kid picture needs.
Yes, that's pretty much it. And Mariners and Coug rants mostly.
Yep.
A lot of Mariners rants. Well, actually, I just get sad now, so I don't.
Now we just get sad.
Yeah.
But we talked about them when they were good, so we're good.
And then they immediately got bad.
Well, we knew that.
We knew that was going to happen. That's why we had to do it. But yeah, so if you have questions, comments, and you don't like social media, send us an email at podcastversuseveryone@gmail.com. I look at it sometimes. If you send us an email in the last couple of weeks and it didn't get responded to, it's because I haven't looked at it in a couple of weeks. Honestly, I was out of town and busy and on vacation and whatever. So get over it. But yeah, send us comments, questions, beer recommendations, beer
topic
rating,
ideas, because we are definitely going to need that.
Yeah, if you have something in the summer that you want us to talk about, we'll talk about it. And anything's on the table. Anything is. We'd prefer it to be the Cougs, but if you have other stuff you want us to talk about, obviously we talk about anything here. So.
If you want us to talk about funny drawings in the sky by, expert Navy pilots, we can do that for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to turn this into a Sky Dick podcast. I'm looking for it to go any direction at this point in the
I
summer.
know.
I'm out of ideas, so.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and go Cougs and
Go
go Sky
Cougs.
Dicks.
Yeah, go Sky Penis.